Welcome to an experience powered by Pipe TV.
The love of our community speaks. Real talks, real solutions.
Welcome to The Love of Our Community Speaks. I'm your host, Marcy Novella, and our guest is no stranger to me. We have a long history together. Please welcome Darryl Carr.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So, Darryl, I'm not going to get in all your business.
You
but
could
I'm
if you
going to touch
want.
on, first of all, you're an author.
Yes.
And I'm going to touch on that. I'm going to talk about our beginning, how we got started as friends.
Yes.
And your future.
Okay.
Very simple. So, how did you become an author?
Okay. Well, it started when I was in high school. I was dating this chick, and she just had a strange character about herself. And over the years, I wanted to write so bad. And I figured I'd make a character about her life and her personality somewhat. And from that, I wrote my first book. But that book sat on my coffee table for a long time. And then when I retired from NYPD, I finished it. And it's still set. And for years and years and years, I worked. And then somebody came over and told me, hey, why don't you publish it? Knew nothing about publishing. And it was a friend of mine, and what she did was she wound up publishing a book, not that book, but another book, because I wasn't happy with that first one. So I wrote my first book, which was The Victim of Love, and it took off in a good way where a lot of people loved it. So they said that the book read like a movie. So I didn't believe that, So I went back and I started reading the book again. I'm like, wow. So I went back to the drawing board and I came out with a part 2 to it called Victim of Love, Master My Bed. And then everybody who read the first one flocked and read the second one. And from there I wrote a third one, and I just had a little small following. So I went in that whole DMV area for book signings, and it was cool to be known like that. People come up to my table, oh, you're the guy on Facebook that smokes cigars, you're the guy that got this book. And then, and listening to those, I was on forums, and listening to the audience, how they said, like, the way I wrote it, they didn't visualize the characters, what they was doing, read like a movie. So I said, okay. So my next step from there was to write a script for it, which I did. I wrote 2 scripts, episodes, and COVID happened, and I was supposed to do it, and I did nothing. So what I did, I wrote a couple of other books, Cold Blue and The Bad Son. And Cold Blue, I didn't advertise as much, and The Bad Son, I'm just now advertising it, and I wrote those books during COVID. And I just finished rereading The Bad Son, and I'm pushing it now because it's really one of my best books.
Okay. Now, you remember the advice you gave me when I wrote my first book?
If I'm correct, I told you just start writing. Just write it down. Get it out. Because we all have these untold stories, and we hold on to it because we're afraid of what people might say. I got my book out, and I didn't care what nobody said.
And it's funny you mention that, because the advice you gave me, let me tell you what he said. He said, my best audience will be complete strangers.
Yeah.
Do not depend on family and friends.
I remember that, yes.
To support me by purchasing books. Everybody will want me to give them a free book, and sometimes they doesn't always read it. So your fan base came from where?
It came from people I didn't know. Nobody in my family bought my book. I was cool with that. I understand that. You know, we think that our family be our biggest supporters. They will cheer you on, but it's the people that don't know you that receive you well. And I found that to be true. And all of the people the book signings that I went to and the people that I met, it was people I wasn't even related to that love my body of work. And that's who I write for. I don't get a family and say, oh, I didn't read your book, let me read it. I think maybe 1 or 2 people in my family read my book. That was great. But I didn't look for them to read it.
And what kind of feedback did you get?
You know what? None from my family. I didn't get any.
So no disrespect to family.
No.
That's not where we're going with this.
No disrespect to family. But I understand, you know, family know you one way. And when you do certain projects, certain things, you know, some people say, oh, I know he don't finish things all the way or she don't finish things all the way. That's just a fluke for right now. So they go along with it and then, you know, they figure you're going to die off from it. But when you write to an audience of people that don't know you, they inbox you, Facebook you, whatever, when you write your next book. Like I had advertised The Bad Son. Excuse me. Somebody read it and told me, when is part 2 coming?
That's nice.
And I'm like, I'm working on it. You know, but I like that. You know, those are the people you cater to their fantasies of that pleasure of reading. And that's what's important. People don't realize that. A lot of people nowadays, they listen to podcasts and radio shows, but it's that reading aspect that helps inspire your mind to travel and explore things and imagine. And that's what we need.
And it's nothing like having a book in your hand and really, really reading it and getting lost with the story.
That's the best thing I heard people say. The smell of the pages. Like, I met people that had the books on Kindle, but the ones that had the paperback said it's just the smell of the pages. They got to feel that texture as they turn. That's special.
It is.
That's special. I put my books on Kindle, but I definitely push the paperbacks. That's what people want. So when you go to these book signings, and I know you will eventually yourself, you'll see that people you'll tell them, oh, I got it on Kindle. They'll be like, no, I want a paperback.
But have you ever considered doing Kindle with your own voice?
No.
Maybe that would be a way to go, because people need to know who Darryl Carr is by you telling the story sometimes in your own words. The narration, you giving your tone and the anticipation.
I'm going to do that. There's an old proverb that said, iron sharpens iron. I inspired you to do what you did, and you just now inspired me to do something different with that, and that's something I never thought about. I will do that.
Well, the reason why I was able to see that is when I came to classes right here at Brick, we worked on a project, and that's what someone did for their assignment. And it opened my eyes to say, hey, maybe I want to consider that. I actually met a gentleman that does the voices for other people, but he recommends the authors should be doing the voices for themselves.
That is amazing, yeah. You know, that is cool. That's like having Stephen King read off one of his,
It's deep, right?
That is very deep.
Yeah.
I'm going to consider that, definitely.
So, Darryl, out of all the books you wrote, what's your ultimate favorite? Tell it.
My Victim of Love series is my best, but I have a strong love for The Bad Son. Cold Blue is a cop book. And I don't know why, but I write female characters better than I do male characters.
Why is that?
I grew up with females, though. I grew up with some strong females. So I'm a little bit more comfortable. I know how that whole interaction goes. Me being a cop, okay, I know the lingo, but then to put two dynamic female characters together, that's powerful. And everybody rave over my two female characters in Cold Blue. That's why I'm a lot excited for when I do part 2, because now I'm really going to turn it up a notch and put them into some real fire. But my Bad Son book, I just finished reading it again, and yeah, I love that book.
Okay.
Some of my best writing.
Well, I'm happy to know that, and I want to support you because I haven't read that book yet. So I got to get your information and find out where I can read this book.
I got you.
When we get back, we're going to talk more about you as a person, not just the author, because there's more to you than just being an author.
Okay.
You got a lot of things going on, and we want our audience to know just who you are. So just give us a moment, and we'll be back soon with more with Darryl Carr. Thank you. We'll be back. I'm Marcy Novella. Just one moment.
Are you an artist or model interested in moving your career to the next level? Then send an email now to MZT Castings LLC, an A&R artist model development company, to set up your consultation. We provide training for ages 6 and up and work with seasoned and promising new artists and models around the world. Here are 4 easy goals we can reach. 1. We can get you to be in print, runway, magazines, stage films, and more. 2. We can help guide you to book jobs locally and nationally for your own independent branding. 3. You can learn business etiquette and the secrets to have a success route in the industry. 4. We can make it all available to you. Email your name, complete contact information, and best time to reach you to mzt.castings@gmail.com.
Welcome back to The Love of Our Community Speaks. I'm your host, Marcy Novella. And we're here with Darryl Carr. And we talked about you as an author.
Yes.
Okay. But you also worked as a police officer at 73rd Precinct.
Yes.
Real rough times back then. Were you there during 9/11?
No, I wasn't. If I'm right, I came on 4 years after that, which was 2004. So I didn't get to experience that. But I did start school safety in 2001 in that October, right after. So I remember how hard it was getting to 1PP and going through the class.
Now, you know why I brought up you being a police officer? I noticed that as an author, you have not wrote a tell-all book about what you thought about the department. No. Why is that?
I don't think I would. That's something you don't do this close now. I will one day. Like my first book, Victim of Love, I realized a lot of guys I came out with or I worked with bought that book because they thought it was something doing with the department, but it wasn't. But I think I will down the line, like on my show, I'm going to be talking about some things in the next couple of weeks. But I will write one eventually.
Now, I'm not talking about a fictional character.
No.
I need you to tell it. Tell it the way it was. You worked at one of the busiest precincts in Brooklyn.
Yes.
I mean, top 3 precinct. I was there in the clerical unit. And very ambitious, very dedicated to going out there and fighting crime. That wasn't easy.
No, it wasn't.
And I'm quite sure a lot of things that you saw back then, have you seen the job change?
The job changed dramatically from back then to now. But I think in today's time is worse. You know, back then everything was a little more simple on how we did things. You know, the community didn't have respect for cops, but it was more respect then than it is now. And I get with the whole George Floyd thing and a couple other, you know, the Trayvon Martin, it kind of made it worse. But when you don't have the backing of the district attorney or your mayor or sometimes your police commissioner, it can make your job 10 times hard because it leaves you in limbo. What should you do? You know, if you do this, you lose your job. If you don't do that, you lose your job. There's no clear line. There's no clear line. Back then, not saying that if you do something wrong, you shouldn't lose your job, or if you go rogue, you shouldn't lose your job. But you have a lot of people back then who operated within their job scope, and things will happen. You know, but now, you know, like the guy on the train station a couple of weeks ago, no, about a month ago now, and the cops had to, I think they shot him or they tased him, whatever the situation was. You know, these cops now being ran through the mill, I think is wrong. You know, you saw they used the levels that they should have used, but yet they're really the bad guys when this guy had a weapon on him, if I'm correct. It's too much. Like, I was watching something in California where they were throwing garbage cans at cops. You wouldn't have did that back then. You knew if you did that, you were being arrested and you were going through. But now you do it and you get no time. You get a smack on the wrist.
Well, the job certainly has changed, and we worked with, as we talked before the camera, we talked about people that were good people. One of our good friends that we just lost was Gwen Johnson.
And God bless her.
And she dedicated 25 years to the same precinct, working real hard, mentoring and talking to people.
Yeah.
Working with young people, the Explorer program, talking to people about change and making the job work for you.
Yes, she did.
And I really admired your interaction with her because I remember how you would spend time with her, and she wanted to help you to relate to the community.
Yeah.
That was her goal, to get all of us on the same page. At some point, she even had me helping her with the young people and having them come in and doing projects and asking for that extra hand.
She was good with bridging that gap between the community and the police. You know, she started a lot of little programs for the children or for the teens in the area to mix with the cops. So you got to have a good reaction with them. And I think that's important, and that's one of the things she made her priority.
That was her legacy.
Yeah, and I think that's why she had that foundation in the precinct and with all of us.
Yes.
She touched all of us.
Yes.
You know, because of the person that she was. She was a great person for that. You know, you don't see that many times that you have somebody in the precinct that try to bridge that gap. And she made that her focus point.
And another thing that I noticed, now you're doing a podcast. And what platform are you doing with that?
My podcast, motivation, relationships, social issues, things that's going on in the world. My last couple of episodes I focused on was men. You know, a lot of men go through things in life, in their relationships or in life in general, and it just, we don't get that respect that we deserve. You know, Mother's Day, somebody a couple of years ago, that Mother's Day, you can't go anywhere without it being sold out. But Father's Day, nothing takes place. You know, you'll get a little tie, you'll get a little card, you know, maybe you get a bottle. But that's all that happens, though. But mothers, they go out for. Not saying mothers don't deserve it. But you have a lot of good men that go out here, work, hustle, and don't get appreciated. But they do get appreciated, but only when they're in that box. That you remember everything that he did. And I just find it not right. Like one episode I did for Men's Month on your health and your mental and stuff like that. We get so overlooked because we're supposed to carry a lot on our shoulders. Nobody really ever asks a man how he's doing, unless it's another man sometime. But that's when those two guys are in that alone setting.
But you also had an episode with your niece. Mm-hmm. And I saw where you were trying to lift her up as a young woman. Mm-hmm. So I think both ends is important. Mm-hmm. It's important as women, we get that support from men and other women, and vice versa. You men need support from us and other men as well.
But we as men go give women their support. We go give it.
You're going to give it.
We're going to give it. But sometimes we don't get that.
I know. You men deserve your flowers too.
We do. But you know what though? Speaking from some men, for most part, we do what we do. We don't really look for that. You know, we know what our assignment is. And when you know what your assignment is, you press for it regardless of whatever anybody say. Sometimes you may get that female, like, oh, babe, you're doing a great job. You're doing this, you're doing that. Like, yeah, I got you. You're paying no mind, though, because you're so used to not getting it. Then when you do get it, it goes over your head.
Well, I always viewed you as a leader. And you are a good example of a young man that's doing well. So please let our audience know where they could find you online, and tell everyone the name of all your books, please.
Okay. Okay, so let's start with my series first, my Victim of Love series. It's Victim of Love 1, Victim of Love Master My Bed, and Victim of Love Unfinished Business. Let me tell you something. You read those books, you will be completely satisfied. Following those series, I have my book Cold Blue. If you ever want to see two females in a challenging situation within a police department, well, one is a lawyer and one is a detective, but if you ever want to see them in a challenging situation where they battle this rogue lady, this rogue man who blew up a police academy graduation, you want to see how they handle that? Check out Cold Blue. And The Bad Son. If you ever watch P-Valley, it's somewhere along the lines, but a little different. But you're definitely going to be satisfied by it if you check out Cold Blue.
Wow. And once again, what's the name of your podcast?
Oh, my podcast is called Open Discussion. You can find it on iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts from, Google Play, Amazon. I'm even on iHeartRadio. Just got on there recently. And I'm starting new episodes starting this week, Thursday.
So thank you so much for coming to our show.
Thank you for having me.
And once again, this is The Love of Our Community Speaks. Please follow me, NYC Novella, on social media. And follow Darryl Carr. And one last word, Darryl. I want you to give your final thoughts. If nobody knows anything else, give one thought that you want people to know about you.
Final thought. I'm all about motivation, bringing people up from where they at. We all go through things in life, and sometimes we need somebody to help steer us in a certain direction to get us where we need to go. We search for that voice inside, but we don't find it. I try to be that voice.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's my pleasure for having you, and you're always welcome to come back.
Thank you for having me. I definitely will.
We look forward to having your next project, and thanks again for being a part of the family. Please join us on our next episode, and once again, reach out to us. We're here to make a difference. Thank you.